Hi, Prashin. Good morning. Uh, we are meeting for the first time, and I'll introduce you for to everybody. And Prashin is a Mumbai-based photographer, a filmmaker, bassist, and educator who brings stories to life through distinctive lens. As we all know, that photographers are important mappers of the scene and the culture around music and entertainment industry. His work also spans through advertising, documentaries, fashion, food, events, films, you name it, and he has done that. And we all know there are many photographers who would like to get an insight from this conversation. And also, there is a cultural angle to the conversation. So, we begin from asking Prashin to maybe introduce himself, what the project he is working on, and then we can move on. Prashin, on to you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Prashin. So I think I started shooting, like I started I think attending gigs around like 2008 or
Hmm.
so, 2007, 8, like when Orkut was there, and that's how you would find out about gigs. And then slowly I got more interested. Like I was always interested in music, and I was like, attending gigs say I get to learn something about the scene, about music and stuff. So I want to attend gigs more. So over time, I joined college, engineering, and I started learning photography. And at the same time, I was like, I would just carry my camera to gigs and take some photos just for fun. And that would also give me access to gigs. So then I was like, oh, so many times I would not have to pay the ticket, like pay for the ticket because I would shoot. And so that was so kind of that gave me an easy access to attend gigs. And then I was like, since I'm here, I'm taking photos, might as well try to get better and, maybe try to make better photos. And that kind of started the journey. And since then, the perspective from which like I've been working, at least I've been
Hmm.
trying to work in the scene, has always been to document the music scene
Hmm.
like uh, from a larger perspective that's beyond just what's happening at that gig, but over years, how the scene has transformed, what is happening, and uh, the kind of culture shift that's happened over the years for musicians. And that's been something that's always been like an interesting topic to me. And yeah, I think it's been about like 15 years or so I've been documenting it, and I hope to continue doing more of it.
Yeah, I like the trajectory because you yourself were a fan and then you started taking pictures, and maybe that is how everywhere in the uh, uh, gig videos today you see more mobile phones and cameras than the actual live shoot. And whenever there is a camera focused on the people or somewhere, you see one or two people enjoying the music, but the most people are busy with their phones. Maybe I can connect your journey to that and see that the passion that you took over could be a very good angle for a lot of people who are really interested in the photography, and that can be an anchor for other people who want to take it up.
Yeah,
And right, right.
yeah,
So I'll start from the questions, as I
yeah, sure.
I put some questions down related to the
Yeah,
culture and
yeah,
how I see the music as
yeah.
a legacy. I'll start with question that do you
Actually, I'll
see?
just want to add to what you
Hmm.
said earlier,
Hmm.
the point of like people kind of attending and like I feel like at some level I feel like an old person just giving gyan for no reason, but it's definitely a pet peeve of mine in the scene where um like I come from, at least I think I come from like being a documentary photographer
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
the the field, so to say, the place where you work is very uh, precious, sanctimonious. You're not supposed to affect it. You're not supposed to, influence it. And you are the fly on the wall. The place doesn't exist for you. You are just there to observe. And over the years, I think the culture of music, gig photography has changed a lot, where it's almost like I feel photographers and like videographers feel very entitled towards the stage or the perform or the whole show, where it's like they feel like it's their set and they can just do whatever they want because they're making an amazing video, so that allows them. So like something as simple as just going up on stage and standing behind the singer at any point of time and
Right.
just filming from there or
Right.
taking photos from there. Obviously, like, if it's a deliverable that's required, you have to do it. But it's also not okay to like stand there for like 10 minutes of the whole song and just like that. And you are like, once you enter the stage, you are part of the
Hmm.
performance. So if you are affecting everyone else's experience, then you're not an observer anymore. You are the performer. And
Right.
that's not like, that's, I feel like a very clear distinction that I feel photographers and like videographers need to be aware of, like, to
Hmm.
not affect the scene where it kind of hinders the experience. Because if I'm paying to come see an artist,
Hmm.
I don't want to see the photographer stand behind him, and maybe I'm trying to take a video of the artist and all I can see is the photographer behind them.
Hmm.
Or it, like, I hate it when I see that. So I also do that, but I'll have like a rule where I'll be like, I give myself 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I'll go take the shot I need, leave. If I don't get it, I'll go again later, but I'm not going to just hang around there. And the same happens when you're standing in front of the audience, like in small clubs and gigs. Like, you have to be aware of how tall you are, who is around you, how much view you're obstructing, and how much time you can just stand there. So usually people in the front are shorter people. So it's a lot of factors that has nothing to do with actually making the image, but just being respectful to the environment you are in as a
Right.
photographer,
Right. Right.
videographer. Yeah. Sorry,
Right.
मैं थोड़ा rant में
नहीं
चले
नहीं
गया,
नहीं
but
नहीं what this is completely fine because the obstruction is, yeah, you know, the experience that people come from for,
yeah,
and the experience that is sold to them
yeah,
should be,
exactly.
you know, balanced somewhere. And
Yeah,
some comments are going to be made from people like you because you map the scene, what is happening
yeah.
there. You know how the live scene is because you have it on your camera with the evidence. We may people may disagree, but you have it in on your
Yeah,
camera.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'll just move to the first question.
yeah. Please go
As
for it.
someone who has visually documented the scene, what role does photography play in music movement's legacy? For example, have you changed? Have you faced any challenges in achieving or getting published or being credited fairly? And how does this contribute to the larger scene?
So I feel like over the years, a lot has changed with the scene. Like in terms of like the role that photography plays in it, uh is like, for me at least, what I'm trying to do is to show how the culture shifted. Like, like 10 years, 15 years earlier, I could see the um the skill of these musicians and how good they are and how the potential they can have and how good their music is. And once it just reaches a wider audience, once it is there's the business end or the marketing end is figured, there are people willing to listen and be part of it. So it felt like there was this explosion going to happen at some point, and I was just wanted to be there to witness it and document it. So like in the photos, like even if it's not the same artist, you see the venues change, you see the equipment they use change, you see the way they dress up change. All of that changes over time, which signifies how well they're doing or what they're doing, how they're doing things, and like the scale of things. So I feel like it's a very important aspect to be able to document something like this, to show
Hmm.
uh, in history what happened, how this thing started, and where it comes from, and how it shifted over time. So I
Right.
feel like photography plays an important part in that sense, but it's like in the current scenario, the only perspective in which photography is seen is posting images on social media, which is fair.
Right.
It's the
Right.
utilitarian, like it's what will help an artist market themselves.
Hmm.
So yeah. So then, like, coming from my perspective of wanting to document gigs,
Hmm.
there access is really hard over time because
Mm.
venues change, like venues have different rules. Right now, I guess antisocial and bonobo would be the only places where I can just show up with a camera and shoot. Many places won't even let you shoot, even though if you're not with the artist. So
Okay.
then the idea of just documenting it becomes challenging. Like
Mm-hmm.
some venues will ask for photos, even though
Hmm.
I might not be doing this for a commercial purpose.
Hmm.
Or some venues will ask like for money to shoot, which is just
Right.
beyond ridiculous. But
Hmm.
so like venues are literally writing themselves out of history by doing such things.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
Like they are making themselves irrelevant over time
Mm-hmm.
because you're not letting people document what's happening there.
Right.
So so over the years, I would say like uh that would be like getting access would be some challenge.
Hmm.
And then like coming to a question of like getting published and credited and stuff, that's another whole like considering like you're a lawyer and you're from from this space, you know a lot about like rights, licensing, and like being credited, and you know how much that matters. But like I feel like people are very unaware of uh one second. You can, yeah, you can hear
Yeah,
me?
no issue. No issue.
I don't know what's happened to my video. Is my video on?
No.
Yeah, there we
Now
go.
it's okay.
Yeah. So coming to
Hmm.
uh, like
Yeah.
rights and
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
being credited, like I
Yeah.
feel like the scene is very unaware or underdeveloped in that regard
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
people don't know about this at all. Matlab uh, it's something like these are basics of like publishing and rights and credits and stuff. But many artists or labels or anyone I work with is not aware. So it's like I don't think so far I've signed any kind of document that says that the anything about rights, credit, licensing. But even though when I mention it, like I do my part of like making sure I put it down, write it, what the purpose is every time I ask it. And then there have been situations where the artist has just used the image for something else altogether. Like if I would have shot a portrait or if I would have shot a live image, it's suddenly being used for an endorsement, for example, which is a separate company using it for a commercial purpose. And then those companies are like, we don't have the money to pay you. And I'm like, but you're literally in some level making an ad out of my photo. I don't think I can hear you. No, I can't hear you for some reason.
Now it's fine.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, correct. There was some disconnect in Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So I get your point about this contribution from the artist and
Yeah,
contribution about awareness about the
yeah,
legal battles they might have to take, or there should be some kind of awareness about the what kind of licensing goes on,
yeah,
what kind of contracts should be there
yeah.
beforehand,
Before.
and what actions could they take after if they
Yeah,
feel their rights are infringed. So
yeah.
some kind of a discussion should be there. I get that, but that also comes from a space where these kind of discussions are very expensive, and
Yes.
they are catered to a certain type of artists and certain type of artists who are exposed to labels, or maybe labels who are in connect with the
I wouldn't
legal
say the biggest labels
offices.
also care about this
Okay.
at all. Like
Okay.
I've had shoots where I've shot for really big artists, like
Hmm.
at some level in Bollywood big artists,
Okay.
where there's no discussion of rights. They'll be like, we're just taking the whole dump, and because we've paid you, so
Hmm.
there are rights, and you can't use any of these images because there are images now. And I'm like, that's not how it
And this is
works.
just a conversation. This is
No, this
nothing in
is
writing.
conversation, this is after the fact, this is just
आफ्टर
assumed
ये
कि हम
राइट.
लोग को तो बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है,
हाँ,
because
ये तो
that's
अलग
the
हो गया
kind of
फिर.
system they
हम्म.
work in, where
हम्म.
everyone's always yes sir to them, and also uh, there are no boundaries set by people, because like photographer is like, it's so matlab, I don't know, ironical, I would say, because the same thing happens to musicians as well, right?
हम्म.
Like if you like, that's how I tell them ki, hey, if I'm making an ad and if I would just use your music, would that
हम्म.
be okay with you? But there is a little confusion on their part, because they exist in the image.
राइट.
They're like, it's mine then. But that's not how rights work. The creator owns the rights. But yeah,
राइट.
that's like the thing is, it's I don't think it's, the scene is not structured, like,
राइट.
right? Like even in film or advertising, it's not
हम्म.
structured. So it's very hard to educate people on the whole. It's something that individually people have to take the effort to know what's right and get it right, and then there have to be people who have to be vocal about it, talk about it, to raise awareness. But I don't think it can be like a educated thing that you can do. But yeah, I really wish. But every artist I work with, I try to tell them, ki, hey, this is how it works. Because there have been situations where I've shot something and it's used for something else. I'll be like, hey, you can't use it like that. Like, it's not like I'm, asking you to, uh, pay up just because you've used it. Now you have to pay me any amount I ask, but you have to at least compensate me something for the change of use. So, and usually that conversation hasn't gone down too well. But over time now, I'm making sure I explain to them, like, before we even start everything, this is how it works, this is what it stands for, and this is what we're agreeing to use it for. And then if that changes, you let me know, and then we'll figure out a structure for it, and we'll do that. And then
So
credits,
do you think
sorry,
the contributions could
huh,
help here?
sorry,
Any contributions, any payments, or the money
any
angle?
money
For
in what
example,
sense?
if there is a breach, or if there is a uh, something done which is not decided, would money solve that problem, or what? How do you see it? Do you think there should be some excess payments made for the
Of
excessive
course,
demands,
I
or
wouldn't say excessive demands. Matlab, in this,
anything which is not agreed and which is
yeah,
not
yeah,
part of the conversation?
in the scene that I work and the scale at which I work, and it's very wide. But usually, like, I would say photographers, cinematographers, or whatever, like in the music space, are at some level the bottom feeders, because you are getting paid off a musician making money, who
Right.
is usually
Okay.
not making money.
Okay.
Like, and you're supporting their, at some level, passion project, what they want to do for themselves, which is not
Hmm.
always the best funded thing. They might be
Okay.
doing music commercially, that will be paying bills. They might be doing
Right.
something else, but
Hmm.
them doing music for themselves is not the most lucrative business they're in, right? So, and then when I'm adding terms and I'm adding, like, hey, this is going to cost more, it's just like makes it harder and harder for them to want to work with me and do stuff. So I don't think I'm even at the point where I can say ki I can charge, like, if there is a breach or the change in contract, I can charge fairly to what I think is fair for that. It's just that I'm just at this place that I'm like, हाँ भाई कुछ, like, just give me a token so you understand the value of what is happening. Like, you get that this
Hmm.
costs money. I just want to at least have that impact, because I feel like
Correct.
that's where you can start. I can't expect
Correct.
here an album artwork is valued at this amount, so
Hmm.
you have to pay me this much, and
Hmm.
then just a stalemate because nothing happens. So
Right. Right. And also, should there be some kind of a archive where all of your contributions or some shared visual archive should be there, or a memory project of sort, where because what we have seen with respect to metal, or maybe with respect to jazz, as I have read, there are few books here and there which
yes,
document the scene,
yeah,
but majorly the visual archive is absent in a way.
correct.
And there is no. Do you see that the documentarians should like yourself are willing to support or co-create this?
So,
uh,
I've been thinking of this for the last, like, I would say 3, 5 years, where I wanted to put out an archive of my own,
okay,
because it's very hard to coordinate work with people and, put together something collective. It will require a lot of discussions, and also then who decides who gets to be part of it, who doesn't. And actually, in I would say 2012, 2014, there was something like that. It was called
okay,
liveshots.in. So a lot of my inspiration of wanting to be a concert photographer comes from this photographer I know called Shiv Ahuja. Like,
okay,
he's a Delhi-based musician photographer who
okay,
I grew up seeing his work, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to shoot images. And he and a bunch of photographers made this thing called Live Shot. It was a kind of a documentary, but more like also a highlight photographers platform, like a place for photographers to submit their live concert photography and get featured. So it became like a thing of like you get selected for it, and it was like a cool thing to happen. But I don't know who can, like, a collective archive might be challenging, but definitely I feel like there are people like Shiv, me, there's another photographer, Vikram, who've been shooting over the years, who can, I feel, over time build their own archive and do something, and hopefully, like, maybe do an exhibition or a book, or that's how I would think about it, where I'm building my body of work towards that. And it can't be us who makes the collective, it has to be someone else who understands this and is ready to hold it together. But it'll be a lot of work, and yeah, but it would be great if someone can do that. Like, we
right,
are all
right,
just I would say caught up in trying to survive and sustain ourselves. And the shooting concerts is our side project or passion project, or so within that, to add one more layer of, let's make a collective and let's do an archive together is challenging. Yeah, but it would be great
right,
if it happens.
right. So, what do you see as success? What does success mean for you today as a creative who works at intersection of music, film, and design?
Hmm. um Success, I would say, would be, like, I really like working in the music space, and um I don't think I'm at the place where I can sustain doing that itself. I
Hmm.
started out with that intention, but it didn't work out for me. There are people who are able to, but I guess success for me would be being able to comfortably do this without having to worry about bills and survival, and just be immersed in this, like immersed in my practice, and just, be engaged in that, making books, doing exhibitions and stuff like that. And like working with artists, like one big part, like over the years, one big part of my work where I wanted to also get closer, work closely with musicians, like closer than just shooting for just concerts, where I started getting involved with like portraits, how their visual appearances, and then eventually started making artworks for musicians, where I would come up with where I listen to the music, I'll come up with a concept, work with the artist to figure out how we can make it visually like, represent what they're also looking for, come up, with a theme and everything, and then execute it. So uh, over time, that's also been something I've been doing. Like, I also make music videos, I write them and everything. So I feel like success would be like taking this much to another level, where I'm working very closely with musicians. People trust me, and I can work freely in this space, uh, in a way that can also sustain me. Yeah.
Right. Also, I wanted to ask if what does entering the mainstream mean to you, or do you see that mainstream is an essential way out for you to, be stable enough financially or economically, or
I have my क्या बोलते हैं?
your
I forgot the
understanding maybe?
no, like, hesitation. Like, I have my
Acha.
opinions on it. Like, I'm a little reluctant to do that.
Right.
Matlab, I have worked in some degree with commercial music in some aspects, and usually the experience has been very out of touch with the music.
Mhm.
It's been very commercially marketing driven,
Mhm.
which is not enjoyable. It kind of
Okay,
takes the joy out of why I'm doing it itself.
right.
And even if it can pay me well, I wouldn't, matlab, I'll do it to pay the bills and not to actually create something meaningful for me.
Mhm.
So I would imagine where it's the other way around, where I'm at this place where people at any level trust me to do what I do,
Okay.
than me just entering the commercial space and offering the service and just doing them, giving them whatever they need, you
Mhm.
know? So yeah. And I think one more thing I didn't add earlier was that like I was a lot like I was interested in like attending gigs and all because am a musician as well. Like I played bass for a bunch of bands earlier, and I am always in the process of writing and the never ending first release. But yeah, so like being a photographer, then working with artists for album artworks, and it just helped me feel closer to the process and learn more about music and stuff. So it's something that I really like, and it gives me a unique perspective also as a visual artist, and like to have some more context of where the musician is coming from, why they are writing this way, why is the song a certain way, to try to visualize it. So at least it becomes easier for me to align with the musician, and usually we feel like we're on the same page very fast.
Right.
So yeah.
So what should be like by mainstream? I meant commercial music in case of Bollywood, for example. If you want to work with certain at a certain level,
Yeah.
yeah, as a photographer,
Yeah, yeah.
what do you see in fashion industry also? What do you see should be the prerogatives to enter the mainstream and
Oh,
call
like
you
that.
the
Acha,
that
acha, acha.
photographer?
Oh, like so across.
Across,
Um,
across, not only metal, everywhere.
okay. Across, I would say it's so much about like how how good you are and how much people believe how good you are.
Hmm.
You can be not as good, but if people believe you're really good, it really helps. Like I feel like people believing in the sense it's not just like having a social media following, but people in relevant spaces, like people who will hire you, brand, like creative directors, or people, producers, and people who feel like you can pull something off for them, and you show that you are like able to take on challenges and be creative. That really helps, I feel, get hired. And I would say I'm still in the process of getting there. I wouldn't say I'm in a place where I'm commercially successful or doing whatever I want to do. I feel like in a lot of places I'm still figuring out, creating work that I want to do for other people, and hoping it
Does it
adds
involve the
momentum.
gear you are using?
Sorry.
Getting into mainstream, does it involve the gear you are using?
No, no, not at
For
all.
example, the kind of cameras you have, the lenses
No.
you got.
So, especially in our space, what matters a lot is like our space, like equipment wise, is run
Hmm.
purely on rentals.
Okay.
So, it doesn't matter if you don't own a camera. I know so many photographers, cinematographers who don't own any equipment. They just show
Hmm.
up, everything's rented, and that's fine. Like, so yeah, so it really depends on like how much people believe in you is what I feel helps you get projects, and like who knows you also.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I feel like those are the biggest factors.
Okay. And
Yeah.
lastly, do you see is there any label or some sort of mainstream support available to the photographers? For example, like you mentioned, contacts and something like that. But for example, if there is somebody who is very new to it and want to be somebody someone, you know, so how does he navigate? How does he get the support he requires? Or does it mean beating down the bush for next 5-10 years and then
No, 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 utna nahi. But I feel like it's um so there's two parts to the question. One is ki, is there a structure for photographers to be in? Right? There isn't. Like, I've been
okay.
talking to a bunch of photographers about, is it possible to have a union or, make something like that. I don't even know how to do that, but I would love to explore that and see if that's possible and make that happen. Because at some level, what's happening is there are people who are uh, like, even if I'm doing this as a this is not what sustains me, I will still ask for something that's fairly paying me. But there are people who are like new college students or people who are doing it as a hobby who don't have that. So their way of working with artists kind of at some level breaks the market because they're okay with working with any budget. So then
Mm-hmm.
artists get used to those budgets, and then when someone experienced says, "Hey, this is how much I charge," then there's no way they're paying that much because they're like, "मैंने तो
Right.
half में, one third, one fourth में ये करा दिया.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I pay you?" मतलब maybe the photos aren't that good, but I can live with it
Right.
because also for a musician, a label or whoever using the photos, the value is just social media.
Mm.
It's just a post that goes out that people are going to see for 3 days, 4 days, and that's it. That's the value it holds. So it's like, why should I pay anything more than whatever like my meager budget is? So a union would at least regulate that and be like, "Oh, if it's a this many hour gig, this is the bare minimum you have to pay, and whatever, like, it's going to be really hard to implement because there are like unions in the film space and all, and they kind of don't work the same way. They become very different animals. Like it
म्हणजे
it
नेमकं
becomes
कसं काय काय होतं
huh
त्यांच्यामध्ये नेमकं कसं हाऊ डज इट वर्क वेगळं काय
matlab
होतं
like I don't
या
so even this union thing, it depends. It has to be run by someone really responsible and avoid getting colluded to something else. So yeah, I would say yeah,
Yeah, those are the issues. I can understand.
yeah,
Getting together is also
yeah,
one set of yeah. It has to come with a responsibility,
yeah,
and at the same time, it has to be very accountable and
yeah.
transparent
And
in the ways
also,
in which it performs. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And also, it's like now what's happened is the scale of music has changed so much, right? It's not just one gig. Like, it's not
right.
just, it's a club gig. That's not the scene anymore. It's music festivals, it's anything. And the scale of teams involved in shooting it also has changed. Like, when I was working at on Lollapalooza's documentary, whatever we were making, uh, my understanding of the team that was shooting for the festival, like their social media and stuff, there were like 30, 50 photographers. Like,
Hmm.
how can you have a union for that? Like, where basically one person who's running a company is deciding a fee with a client, and he's deciding how much ever to pay to these photographers. And
Okay.
from what I heard, there is like ridiculous numbers, as from very low pay to no pay also, where people are just being said that they've been given an opportunity to be shoot at such a festival, and like, and they're just, and that's the exchange.
Hmm. No, it
So
doesn't
it's
work
like,
like that. Yeah,
and so
actually.
it's like even photographers are taking advantage of photographers.
Okay.
So वो तो musician तो दूर की बात है.
हाँ.
So even if you scale it up, people who are doing well, this is what is happening.
Hmm.
So it's so even if I say, okay, let's, I put together some way to make a union, I don't know how much people want to get on board to that also, because that would
Right.
mean they have to pay the photographers they hire fairly, you know?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's a little tricky. So I don't know. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely tricky, but in a way, I can see that people somewhere there has to be some sort of organized way in which things have to
Yes.
move.
Agreed. Agreed.
Otherwise, if
$100%.
it's really going to be somebody somewhere in some country getting paid and someone
Yeah.
somewhere is not getting paid,
Yes.
and we
Yes.
don't maybe I think from this platform I don't want the artist, at least I know the
Hmm.
minimum I can expect is at least the artist I know, or
Correct.
the artist I listen to
Yeah.
or I enjoy, they should not face this,
Yeah.
because because it's really it won't be practical to expect everybody not to go through all of this. There
Correct.
will be ups and downs, but at least the people
Yeah.
I know shouldn't be going through this.
Correct. Agreed.
And I resonate with your idea, but I can see that some sort of legal also understanding has to be there.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but what I have seen from my side is there is some sort of reluctance from
Yeah.
the people who want to get supported.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, and that reluctance and resistance is huge actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They are saying that support itself is does not qualify to support us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these kind
Exactly.
of arguments are really,
Yeah. It's
they hold
very
the ground to a
correct.
level where it's very difficult to, tell them that you need it, but you don't know
Yeah.
you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So that is where it becomes some
Yeah.
sort of soliciting
Yeah.
happens there. But I
Yeah.
don't want that soliciting to happen. I want
Yes.
the,
Yes.
people like you,
Correct.
who could actually, maybe if you talk to a friend and he talks to 10 people, then that
Yeah.
might happen, make a
Yeah.
bigger impact than
Yeah.
actually
Yeah. I,
organizing it.
yeah. I have been thinking of like maybe putting a podcast together or doing like content series around this where we just break down like different aspects of the industry from from all these aspects, and maybe that will help, and hopefully other photographers also resonate with it. But yeah. So there was another question in your question. The last question was that about like young photographers, where do they start and how do they, like, is it just like a 5-10 year thing they hope to get into it? But I feel like there are many young photographers who've picked up a lot, understand how it works and stuff. But basically, it's the best way to start is go to a venue that lets you shoot, make a portfolio, shoot some artists you like, and then the best way is look at the gig calendar for the next month, reach out to every artist, tell them, hey, I do this, this is my work, this is how much I charge, would you want me to shoot? And this is what I did. Like in Blue Frog days, that's what I would do. Like I would literally see the calendar and email everyone, international, national, and that got me to shoot amazing artists. Like I didn't think people would want to hire me, but then when you put it across, you never know. So there are a lot of artists, there are a lot of photographers doing that, and like especially in festivals, you'll see like like especially this year at Lola, it was really nice to see where I was also filming for an artist, and almost every international and Indian artist had a photographer or a videographer with them hired, which they reached out independently and got a gig, which was great. Like, so yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, actually, these ways in which you have said, like emailing the artist your
Hmm.
portfolio, I think that those are the cold emails that you're speaking about,
Yes,
and
yes.
they really work. I have heard
Yeah.
a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
want to ask if these streaming platforms like
yeah.
YouTube, Spotify, or other streaming services, how does the internet shape the discourse in this commercial music industry? And do you think that YouTube's or Spotify, in a way, gives any incentives from the promoters and organizers to the artists or the photographers?
तो photographers तो है ही नहीं इसमें. मतलब
अच्छा.
YouTube, Instagram, Spotify does nothing to. मतलब YouTube, Spotify, like streaming platforms do nothing for photographers unless like I'm making a music video for the for the musician. That would be the only way that streaming helps, that so many people saw it. like like for example, Hanuman Kind's music video blew up, right? And then suddenly a lot of highlight was given to the people who made it, and then they
Hmm.
got a
Hmm.
lot of work,
Hmm.
that kind of helped. So stuff like that helps when it blows up. But the like, or if there's an iconic artwork and the song blows up, it brings attention to the person who made it. So stuff like that helps, but that's like very very rare, few and far between types. But like I would say, from my understanding of like the music scene and musicians and music business, is like, like the the actual people who are able to utilize YouTube, Spotify streams and actually make money of that is so less that it's almost become. Matlab, I feel like musicians are in a very tough place because uh, at some level, Spotify has become a marketing platform where it's just the place to have your music out there and it pays you nothing. it does not help them sustain at all. Like it's like 0.05 paise per play is what I remember last. And like even if you have million plays in a month, it barely comes down to like 1,000 rupees or something. So which is ridiculous. So like it also like it's also like the revenue model these streaming platforms have about the
Right.
the percentage of the pie, and like how much percentage of plays you get, and all of those kind of. So then artists have figured other ways, like merchandise has been one way, or doing live gigs. And now like even live gigs aren't paying that well to musicians. Like it's getting worse over time. Like
Okay, worse meaning?
worse
How
meaning
do you
like
see that?
um like the budgets for artists have changed.
Okay.
What artists can do in that budget has changed. And like if an artist has to bring an experience together, they'll need a light man, they'll need a sound person, they'll need a team photographers, and they'll need makeup, style, all that. If they have to do all that, and if a venue is not able to pay for that, then it kind of changes the experience. And then that's going to directly eat into their costs, right? So this is what my understanding is from whatever I've heard from like musicians I've worked with and people in the scene, that uh like even gigs aren't the best way to survive as a musician anymore. Like, and
Yeah,
also
there have to
like,
be more cultural spaces, available
yeah,
as in
either
infrastructure and
cultural
everything else.
spaces, or
Right.
there has to be some way for a musician to survive. Like now sync is maybe one way if your
Yes.
song gets selected, or like if it gets used,
Yes.
you'll get a good paycheck. But that's
Yes.
not something you can have control over or make it happen.
Hmm.
So
What do you think about NFTs? Just off,
NFTs, I don't
yeah,
know.
on top of my head.
NFTs, I would say, is tricky. Like I wouldn't say I'm educated enough to make to say what it's about. But from my understanding, I don't believe in it as much, because mm, matlab, it's a digital form of an art that is supposed to generate value over time, that hopefully grows with demand as the artist grows. If it works out, it's great, but I feel like the percentage of people who will engage in the NFT space is so small that even if it does well, so I feel like merchandise is more, I would say, commercially viable than NFTs, or a more clear 1:1 thing कि हम लोग ने इतना प्रिंट किया, इतने पैसे डाले, हम लोग इतने में बेचेंगे, इतना प्रॉफिट होगा. It's straight. But with
Right.
NFTs, it's so like the value changes, the demand changes, and then like that gorilla NFT like now has no value. It's zero. Like so people who've paid like 100K, 10K, 50K have totally lost that money.
Mhm.
So it has potential, but it's like it's a whole other game to create value, to create demand, and then to
Yeah.
make it work in that sense. But yeah, like for example, like people have done crazy interesting merchandising. Like Peter Cat is an amazing example of that. Like they got vinyls, which is great. They have t-shirts, all that is fine. They've made song books with like lyrics, like lyric books. They've also collaborated with with Subco Coffee, and they've literally made a signature chocolate for them called Beta
Mhm.
Bites, which is like a very different direction to
Wow.
take
Yeah.
merchandising. And it's so there are like you see Abhi, in the current day and age, every brand wants to be part of anything that's happening, right? And you can just put anything, like any band's name on something, and say, oh, they are part of this, and just sell something mediocre. But that chocolate is really good, and they've put a lot
Okay.
of effort, work with the artist to make it like worthwhile. Like it's in some sense even Subco's signature chocolate. It's not just it's important for the band, but the brand also felt value to make it meaningful, to create demand for it. and it's
Mm.
doing really well from what I heard. Like the packaging is great. It's so like it's musicians are seeing themselves as a brand, as a
Yeah,
business,
that's
and
happened.
working from
Yes.
there on, which can help, but not every musician can do that. But yeah.
Yeah. I completely want to thank you about the inputs that you have given and the
Yeah,
time.
of
And
course.
I would love to have you for another podcast. Maybe dig in more about the creative memory
Oh yeah,
project,
yeah, I would
or
love to. Yeah,
and
definitely.
anything that comes across, and maybe do another podcast maybe a few months down the line, and I'll definitely approach you.
Yeah,
And this podcast may bring some value to a lot of people who are around us. Let's meet again, man.
yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Thanks a lot.